Muted. Alrighty, I'm going to get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our third installment of our winter lecture series. This year, it's called Spread Your Wings, where we're inviting authors, conservation scientists to join us from across the globe to introduce us to different topics of interest to the bird community. My name is Tasha Naula. I am the New York City Bird Alliance Public Programs Manager. Also with me tonight is conservation field biologist Emilio Tobón, who is part of our conservation team here at New York City Bird Alliance, and in particular working to survey and ban water birds in the New York City harbor. Before we start, a few quick reminders. Please note all our lectures are recorded and we post them later on our website for anyone to view. But don't worry, only the speakers are on camera, so you won't be in the recording. We also have closed captioning enabled for the Zoom and in the recording. During tonight's lecture, we ask that you please type any of your questions in the Zoom's Q&A feature, which you can open by clicking on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. At the end of the lecture, I will ask the questions out loud and we'll try to answer as many as possible with our allotted time. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to take a second to share the mission of New York City Bird Alliance with all of you. For those who don't know, we're a conservation nonprofit that works to protect wildlife birds and their habitat in New York City. Through conservation science, advocacy, and engagement, we aim to make the city a more bird-friendly place. As part of our organization's work, we monitor across the city, as well as have community science projects where everyday New Yorkers help us collect data on bird populations and conservation threats. This data then informs our advocacy efforts through which we aim to make New York City more sustainable for wildlife and people. We're currently focused on making the city's buildings safer for birds by pushing forward laws that require buildings to turn off unnecessary lights at night and to use bird-safe glass in windows. You can learn more about how to get involved with the community science projects or our advocacy efforts through the links that I would share in the chat shortly. Tonight, we're going to be hearing how the conservation and advocacy efforts happening right here in New York City are interconnected with and vital to those occurring across the globe. Before I introduce Salvadora, I want to thank Claude and Lucienne Bloch for their ongoing support for our winter series, lecture series. I'm now pleased to welcome our speaker tonight, Salvadora Morales. Salvadora is an ecologist native of Nicaragua. Salvadora is a senior conservation specialist of the Flyaways program in the Monarch Conservation Sciences and their Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reserve Network Executive Office. She is responsible for exploring opportunities to coordinate and promote best management practices in shrimp aquaculture and salt productions to benefit shorebirds. This includes conducting research, monitoring programs, and managing habitats for the shorebirds in Central America. I want to thank Salvadora for joining us tonight all the way from Nicaragua, and I'll let you get started.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Tasha, for that presentation, and thank you all for being here. I don't have I don't have so many opportunities to practice my English, so if you don't understand something, you can write in the chat, and later I will answer. So let me share my screen. Okay. So it's an honor for me to be able to share with you tonight and talk about one of my favorite shorebirds and how we are connected. Also, I hope it will be partners from Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua join us tonight. They have been an essential part of the work that we have been developing in the Gulf of Fonseca. So to start, before to begin, I want to thank the main star of the night, American Oystercatcher KP3, which was banded in New York and later found in Honduras. thanks to this report, we spoke with Emilio Tobón, who is tonight here, and Jesse McLaughlin to count the story. And today it has become a reality. So thank you so much for joining this night. And thank you, Emilio and Jesse, for this opportunity to talk and share about all this bird. So to start, as you know, American oystercatcher is found along the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Pacific coast with both resident and migratory population. Tonight, we are going to focus on East Coast population. Currently, the population is stable, but American oystercatcher were nearly hunted to extinction in 19th century for their plumage and eggs. So it has been a lot of actions of conservation. In the present, American oystercatcher have a working group. Probably some of you are part of this working group. That is formed for people, government, NGO, academy, all together develop a strategy to conserve the American oystercatcher. And as part of one of the strategy is research and monitoring. So a lot of American oystercatcher has been banding with different colors of bands. So tonight we are here to count part of the story of some of them that it's arriving to Central America. So continue with the story. The American oystercatcher that was banded as a fledgling in June 2023, it was observed at Punta Condega in October, just 3 months later, along with other 17 American oystercatcher. So you can see from New York, they cross all over the Caribbean, and then cross all the country of Honduras and arrive to the Pacific. So this was like our begin. But another bird that connect us is one with the code NAA, which was captured on June 18 near Lido, Nassau County, New York. And on September 17, it was reported from the Honduran Caribbean where it made a stopover. As you know, it's in September is the time when the hurricane and storms, they have, or Caribbean have heavy storm and hurricane. So some of them get in touch with those storms. So they stop over. Someone from Honduras report the individuals, and then the birds cross all the country from the Caribbean cross to the Pacific, and it was reported in Gulf of Fonseca and El Salvador on October 28th. So 1 month later, it was seen in El Salvador, and then in February 7 in Nicaragua. So we have like a more connected point and site where we saw NAA. But how looks Gulf of Fonseca? This is the Gulf of Fonseca. It's located in the middle of Central America, in the Pacific Flyway. And if you see the Atlantic Flyway is birds, it's coming to the Pacific. So it's one of the sites with the highest concentration of shorebirds. We have been observed American oystercatcher moving between the 3 countries in 3 main sites, 2 of which are now part of the Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reset Network, and we are trying to work with local partners. All the light blue that you can see are shrimp farms that have been developed over the past 25 years. So shorebirds live between mudflats and shrimp farms when they stay in the Gulf of Fonseca. So far, approximately 48 banded birds from 48 banded birds from Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, New York, and Massachusetts has been found through the Gulf of Fonseca. Many of them arrive as juveniles with their bill still black, and we continue seeing them season after season. So as you can see, it's like a party of all the East Coast together in Gulf of Fonseca in the tropics, looking for food and join a resident population. So these birds spend at least 7 months in the area between the 3 countries. We have been doing counts where in the morning we see feeding in the Nicaraguan side, and in the afternoon roosting in the Honduras side. And in other moments, they are traveling to El Salvador side. So they are moving depending of the condition, the perturbation, the different activities that are in the site. But in the photo, you can see one of the most important feeding sites, where a mudflat of several kilometers form when the tide is low. When the mudflat fills up, the birds move to inland roosting site where shrimp and salt ponds the salt ponds are more in the site of El Salvador. So they move to those sites. And this has been part of that. We have been learning about how they are moving in Gulf of Fonseca. So these areas also have a significant socioeconomic importance for local community and productive areas. We can see thousands, or it can be thousands of kilometers between Gulf of Fonseca and East Coast, but it's like for local community, it's similar. You can see Monomoy in Massachusetts. Local community are doing the same thing that Delta Estero Real in Nicaragua. People are taking part of the nature for survive and live from the nature. So, and they get together with the American Oystercatchers and another species in the same. So when the tide is up, it's time to sleep or rest for all the birds. So that use depends of the mudflat. So all the birds get together, you can see in the photo, with different species, and find empty ponds or dikes free of vegetation where they can sleep or rest before the food will be available again. That will be like a 6 hours later, the tide will be going low again. So ponds are not available all the time. They will be full of water for 3 months. Once the producer harvests the shrimp, shorebird will be available to use. And that will be probably sometimes 1 day, sometimes 2 days, or 15 days. The ponds are available for birds. So the dikes are all the time if they have no vegetation. So birds use those dikes as a roosting site. You can see this is a dike of shrimp farms, and this another is a salt pan dike. It's smaller and it's not so high. So one of the most important things for the shorebirds in general is the roosting site, where they get together with another 20 species in the case of Gulf of Fonseca. And right now, American Oystercatchers share feeding and roosting site with another 13 species that it was included in the red list of vulnerable and almost threatened bird. So this is a call for action. And if we can do something for American Oystercatcher, we will be doing for another species that share the same area and have the same problems in the different areas that they use. So in the case of Gulf of Fonseca, one of the main threats that we have been seeing is the loss of roosting habitat. The feeding habitat, the mudflat, is there. Apparently, with the sedimentation, it's growing, the hectares of mudflat. But in the case of the roosting side, the habitat, it has been fragmented. It has been changing the water current. And there is disturbance because production system and also is more storm and climate change. It is part of the main threat that they have. One of the main threats is the habitat loss. And in the case of Gulf of Fonseca, you can see what's happened in the last 25 years. In the graph, you can see how the natural habitat has changed. There were two main habitats. One was salt flats and the other it was mangrove. The mangroves have been maintained, but the salt marsh or salt flat has been replaced by shrimp farms. There is no information about before the change. However, in the present, we have an important numbers of birds that interact with the producers in the shrimp farms, and where we have been trying to identify best management practices because we identify the importance that have those sites. So you can see everything, all the red, it was salt flat. And now all the red turned white, that now is the shrimp farms. And a lot of them right now are not active, but the change already, it's in place now. They build dikes, they change a little bit the different, the water, it stopped to have free way now to be in contact with the salt flat. So also with the rainy season, it's more fresh water than salt water. So everything have been changing, but still, this is one of the sites where the shorebirds and production get together in somehow. So after several years of studying shorebirds in shrimp farms, learning about their presence, behavior, social roosting, feeding or breeding, how they use the shrimp farms, we begin collaborating with the companies. And we conduct workshop and gave talk about shorebirds. The entire process, it's around 5 years now, 6 years. It has been a learning experience for both parties. For us, we know anything about shrimp farming, and they know anything about shorebirds. So it was like, in our case, we have to learn about how they produce, when they produce, what activities they do inside. So we can identify in what is the best moment where they can help or make any activity that supports shorebirds. So part of the activity, or one of the big things that we have as a result, it was that we have a space to talk with the shrimp industry, and with a big audience, like you can see in the photo, more than around 600 producers together hearing about shorebirds. That was like oh my God, it was really big, because in the beginning, they was like afraid of us, like no, they are conservationists, and the conservationists and production are not getting together. So it was like an enemy. And now we built that relation. We started to identify with them the best management practice that they can do, and learn together. So we give talk, to the producers. And it was like, sometimes it was hard because they was in the working time, and we have to just share some moments with them when they are free, when they have some times. But also we try to talk about birds in days that are important, like migratory world bird day. So we go to the shrimp farms and talk and do some activities with the producers, and also with the community, and kids always get with us or be with us. But also we create labels that call to action and complement the talks. If we say, we identify where are the most important sites inside the shrimp farms where the birds get together to roost. So we put labels or signal there, and with some actions like stop, let the birds sleep, for example, signals, and it was part of the activity that we developed with the industry. This was more in Nicaragua, and we are working right now in Honduras trying to do that. And one of the most important elements, it's increase the numbers of roosting sites or the areas of roosting sites. So some of the sites are also used by birds that nest in the area. Now, some of them are shorebirds. We have a resident population of American Oystercatchers with some plover. So they use the site. And every time when the producer have to maintain or give maintenance to the wall, have the opportunity to consider a shorebird-friendly wall or shorebird-friendly dike. And when we promote, or it was one of the best management practice, that it was the most important for the shorebird. So you can see in the photo, what happened with the dikes is that in the raining season, if the wall is built high, there will be a lot of vegetation. Just in a month, it will be full of vegetation. So we was practicing or recommended to build in more naturally. And the response of the birds, it was immediately. They managed give maintenance to the wall, and in a few days, birds, it was building nests in those walls. And also, it's the same wall where the birds roost, and so it was like one of the most important management actions that we are promoting with the producers. And also, American Oystercatcher inspired us to engage with the new generation. And it was a close relations between the producers, that some of them are big companies, that one of the forms to connect with the community is that they do environmental educations as part of the social responsibility. So we get together with them, and we also have our Nico that go and visit the school, and we do activities with Nico and count about how we are connected with those migratory birds, and how important they flew. They go to New York City, the most important city. So people can make connection and have an idea how far those birds that they have in their beach, in their coastal areas are moving. And they are really proud of that. So as we arrive at 2024, 2025, our producers, now I say our producers, the producers of shrimp farms are facing a market crisis. You can see that in the image of one of the active shrimp farms looks like this. It's full of water. That will be 3 months, and then they have to produce, or when they harvest the shrimp, it will be like this other photo. And so the birds, it will be used in the side, or the dike as this photo. And this area, it's in low tide, and it will be full of water in high tide. So also, still, the birds have to look for another site. So birds are moving in an active shrimp farms that it's producing around the different sites in the site. And that is part of what we have been trying to understand better and have better idea of how the producers can do activities are integrating the best management practice manual that they already have, because the government said that they have to have one. And right now, these photos are from the 2024 in the beginning of the season, where you can see what happened with the ponds that are not in use, that the water is not coming to the ponds. It's the mangrove that it was not there naturally are coming to grow very fast. Now you can find coal in the shrimp where it was shrimp farm, for example. So the change in the site, it's calling for and we are understand now that we need to manage those area to have roosting site, to have more site where the birds or shorebirds can use, and also water birds. So with that, one of the big message is that conservation is on your hand, and we need to demand for a shorebird-friendly product, as coffee, as rice, as coal, that there is a lot of connections between productions and biodiversity, and in this case, in particular, as shorebird. And at this point, we know, we learn a lot about where was the bird, where are the birds, how they use the shrimp farms. We know we have a big company that are from US, Canada, Spain, in Gulf of Fonseca. The market also, it was more in Europe. And now there is a price, the price of the shrimp, it is really low. The market is full of shrimp that it's coming from Asia, Ecuador. So the producers in Central America is facing a crisis, and that it will be impacting to the habitat that have been changed already, and now it will be again have another impact if the water is not flowing. So I am almost finishing. In the present, we have been working with brands like San Bernardo, like Seajoy, Cook, that are big companies. And those brands with who we work, have stopped production and are seeking a market. While the future remains uncertain, and it is crucial that we find ways to implement habitat management and also connect shorebirds producer with market. So I thought this could be one opportunity to share with all of you and share about how we are connected, not just with shorebirds. It is what also with what we eat, what we buy in the market. And that's, it's like a rule for everything that we buy. It will be a connection. It will have an impact in the nature, in the habitat of the birds and all the biodiversity that are connected with those sites. So my last message, it is like our connection goes beyond just birds, and the power lies in the food you buy. And that I have been seeing, especially here where the market say, I want to buy an organic shrimp. So the producer have to improve the production, contact with the science, with the scientifics, and do better management of the production, for example. So it will be the same with another species or group like shorebirds. So again, the power lies in the food you buy every time. And I think it's important, if you support American oystercatcher conservation, if you demand bird-friendly product and buy products from Central America, I think it will be a good form to do something for conservation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Salvadora. I really appreciate that you left us with a call to action, and probably an action that we didn't really think about when we think about shorebird conservation. So I want to thank you for adding that note and reminding us that it's more than just the conservation on the ground, but also in like everyday things that we're doing. And food is essential, right? But I wanted to take a second before I go into the questions of the audience to kind of bring in Emilio from our team and ask him about the work he does at New York City Bird Alliance. And also, I would love to hear, Emilio, what your reaction was when Salvadora contacted you that they found KP3 down in Nicaragua.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Salvador. It was a great talk. We have many things to talk about it, but let me talk about the work we do here with the oystercatchers. We've been banding oystercatchers since 2011, so we've been doing this for many, many years now. We started banding mostly adults to see how they were doing the breeding seasons in New York City. But then over the years, we started to change to ban chicks because we wanted to know where those birds were going. We wanted to see if the chicks survived and where they were going, because we really didn't know where they were moving. We knew they moved south, but we didn't know exactly where. So the last 3-4 years, we've been concentrating more in banding chicks. And I mean, Salvador's presentation is a great reminder that is working. Our work here in New York City is working. So now we know how far our birds go. And it was a great surprise. I was very, very happy to hear from Salvadora when she contacted me and tell me that she found one of the birds that we banded here. And I've always tempted to say that it's one of our birds, but it's really not. It's also Salvadora's bird because it lives there also. So it's not just our birds. It's birds for everybody, all over the world, all over the continent. So this is this was great news, and I hope she keeps finding more birds that are nesting in farther north here. So it was a great surprise, but also in Salvadora's presentation, one thing I noticed is we have similar concerns and similar problems. We want people to know how important it is to conserve the birds, to give them opportunity to try, because that's all they need. They need some opportunity to thrive. We as humans just need to give them space and give them the right conditions, and they will thrive. As much as they do here in New York, as they do in Central America and Nicaragua and in the Gulf of Fonseca. So, and also it's important to mention how the fruit production in Central America can affect the birds that are nesting here. If the bird nests here and they are successful here, that is okay. But if they have to go south during the winter and they don't find the right conditions to survive, then the cycle is broken, and we need to try to maintain that cycle. So yes, let's buy shrimp from Central America.
Yeah, thanks, Emilio. I think, Salvador, you said it, that we're all connected, and how it was a party of the East Coast, right? You were getting birds from everywhere, and yeah, not just from New York City, but from other countries. And Emilio, I did want to ask you if you can expand a little bit. One of my questions for you was, what were some of the similarities that you see with your work, that Salvadora had mentioned in her presentation, in terms of threats, the type of management that you would recommend, etc.
Yes, that's one of the similarities we have. The threats are pretty much the same. Humans, there in Central America is people working in the shrimp farms. Here in New York is people going to the beach and not paying attention to the birds. So the problems are similar, and the ways to solve those problems are also very similar. We need to talk with the people. We need to let the people know what birds we have in the beaches and what they're doing and how to protect them. And most of the time it's very simple as just to let them be. Sometimes it's more complicated, like in the case of the shrimp farms, that you have to make sure that the people there have an income and they can work and they can protect the area they're working on. So yes, the problems we face are very similar, and the way we're tackling those problems are also very similar. If you remember in Salvadora's presentations, all the images of the people listening to the people that talks about Oystercatchers. By the way, we would love to use your custom of the Oystercatcher. Is great there. Also, the sign that you make, they are very similar. They have the same message that we have here. Look, there are these birds. We need to respect those birds. We need to help them thrive.
Yeah, I think it goes to show that that both the work that we're doing across is working. And I think going into the first question of one of the audience members, Salvadora, is you mentioned a little bit about how the government was involved, especially with the shrimp farms, and I think someone just wanted to ask if you can clarify a little bit more about how do you work with the government, and what is their reaction to the work that you do?
Well, I think one of the results, it was more tangible in the case of Honduras. With the government, we put together all the producers, and now they are for the first time, they are part of the Western Hemisphere Shorebird network. And it's like the shrimp farms, it's part of the network. So we can work with the producers, but also they can see that they land or they area that it's the area is still the owner is the government. It's still the environmental office of the government. But they have like a long-term concession to the producers. So the producers are administrating the site, the area. And I think that one of the impact is that that the involvement of the government, it was in that way, helping us to put together the producers and have that title of the Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reserve in their shrimp or in the producing area. So that it was part. It's not easy because not all time the policies are getting together with conservation. But it is almost one of the things that we see that we can put together. We can talk in the same table.
Yeah, I think that's very important, is that you need conversations to start. So as long as everyone's at the table, we can start having those conversations. And I think we could have a whole nother webinar about how advocacy plays a part into this and how, policy needs to match and take into consideration all that we're finding in conservation. But we're gonna go a little bit back. And some people are asking if you can talk a little bit more about how working with the shrimp producers were, and if they're like independent operators or do they work for larger companies, as well as I know you mentioned that you started talking to them, but what was some of their initial reactions when you first started to enter and speak with them, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah. We have where they are like 70% of the shrimp producing area are from big companies. So for example, in Honduras, we have one company that have 12,000 hectares under production. So if you talk with that and they allow to work and they are interested, the others can join the initiative. So one of the shrimp farms opened the door, and then we started working with them, trying first to understand what could be that point of interest that we have, because I think the first two companies that opened the door, it was because they export the shrimp to Europe, and they was trying to have like a certification. So with the certification, they have to have like they have to demonstrate that they are doing something for nature and conserve the sites. So we put together those information and work with them. And that was the first step, but they are really afraid in somehow to what you will be telling to the world about them, because it was like a conservation people and producing, it was in fighting, because one of the things that they say, or conservation conservationists say, it was that they destroy the mangrove. But as you saw in the graph, they changed the use of the land, but of the salt flat. So the impact, the importance, it is different to the mangrove. So I think when we say, okay, yes, you not destroy the mangrove, now we understand that it was the salt flat. It was like, okay, we can sit and talk. You are not attacking me. So that was one of the things I think it was important, and take us years of relation to sit in the same table.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and ask this question because I know when we first met about a month ago, you were really emphasizing how important it is for people to make the connection of shrimp farms and American oyster catchers, and how that affects the market. Is this might be a yes or no question, but is there a chance that these shrimp farms will go out of business? And if they do, what will happen to the community, but also the land itself?
I think it's a real chance that the producer right now go out of the market. It's happening. It's a reality. What will happen with the land? We don't know, but probably Chinese come to Gulf of Fonseca and it will be producing. That could be one scenario. The other is that if the land, it will be without producing, we need to manage those land and try to be how was in the, as naturally, without dikes, without those dikes that stop the water coming. So it will be part of the scenario that we have to work, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this question goes for both you and Emilio. I know you left us with a call of action, but if there's any other conservation actions that we can take to help, both here in New York City or if we're located in other areas, if you can share those with our audience today. Whoever wants to start. Yeah.
Emilio.
Okay, yes, I can start. Yes, I mean, we need to tell everybody about the birds, about what we're doing to them and what they need. That is not much. So for us human, it's very easy to use to give them the space and all they need, and they will, that's all they need. So, but we need to keep talking to the people. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell whoever wants to hear you about the oystercatchers, about the shorebirds in general, about how important are for our ecosystem. And yes, keep saying and keep working on them. I mean, I want to keep working on them for as long as possible and see how they do and how they go in the future.
Yeah, and in terms of as productions, I think have the information and share the information that we know now with the producers, with the market or potential market, with the politicians or that them decide the future of in what will be investing. I think it's important and can make the difference in the future.
Yeah, I think that's very important to leave this conversation with. I'm going to give it another minute or two to see if there's any new questions that come in, or if I missed something, someone can put it back in the chat. But Salvadora, I wanted to know if you can share what is next, what you're working on, and just kind of the future of your work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think I feel like it's urgently to go to the to work with the owner of the land right now and try to build or see how it's the conditions of the roosting site and try to manage those roosting sites to have the condition that the birds need to use every day in this season now. That could be one, and it's and the urgent actions. And also we have to prepare, I think, to identify what could be, we identify what was the best management practices when the shrimp farming is active. So now we know what we have to talk with the producer, what will be the recommendation. but we don't know, or we now have to answer the question that what we have to do when the shrimp farms are not active, or when they leave the productions, in what condition they have to leave the land to be available for the shorebirds and all the birds that used to use there. Yeah.
So we'll have to have another conversation for when that happens. So for you to keep us updated and share with us. We did have a few more questions come in. One of them was about signage. You know, Emilio and you both mentioned that having these informative signs at where the birds are. And so the question is, how do we go about trying to increase signs about birds? How to work with the government or organizations to get signs. I think their specific example is Plum Beach, which is a sensitive area, but there's absolutely no signs in that area. So, yeah.
Well, yes, it's important work with your organization, with organization like New York City Bird Alliance. We as an organization, we can increase pressure in the government agencies to increase signage, for example, or to increase the number of people that is patrolling the areas. Yes, but we need to work together to do that. It's not just trying to tell one people or one organization or what government agency to do something. We need to work all together.
Yeah, I think in Delaware, it's an initiative that it's Return the Favor. It's more focused on horseshoe crab, but also they have a lot of volunteers that go to the beach and return the horseshoe crab, but also talk with people that are in the beach. So maybe that it's another action that involve volunteers, organizations that make the effort for the shorebirds.
Yeah, I think it's looking at your local organizations and seeing where you can connect. And, you know, New York City Bird Alliance is always a resource for you guys. So you can always email us and we can, you know, see what resources we have to get signage or, you know, connect with other people who can get the signage that is appropriate for you. I think we're going to end with one last question. And this person is a volunteer with New York City Bird Alliance, and they just wanted to share that they do the horseshoe research at night at high tide in Jamaica Bay, and we always hear when we're approaching the oystercatcher nest, and want to make sure volunteers walk right at the water's edge to minimize disruption. Is there anything else that we can do? And you might have answered this before, but is there anything we can do when approaching a nest?
Well, my first advice is to not. Yeah, there is a symbolic fence that indicate that in the other side of the fence there is potentially a nest, and the nests are very hard to see. If you don't know what you're looking for, you just walking by and you don't even notice there is a nest. So my advice is try to respect the space of the birds and try to stay away from the symbolic fence.
Yeah. Yes. Nature will do its thing if you leave it alone. Well, I want to thank you both, Emilio and Salvador, for joining us tonight. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight online. I hope you enjoyed this lecture series. This is our third of 5. Next month, we'll be having a talk with Chris Cooper on his new children's book. So we hope to see you there. I'm also going to share links in the chat to how you can volunteer with us at New York City Bird Alliance or learn more about our advocacy or programs that we have throughout the year. Thank you again, Salvadora. Like I said, we'll have to catch up and get an update from you to share with everyone. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much for, I am reading the question now, so thank you so much for all the comments.
Thank you, Salvadora, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.